If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 403 of Picks and Ponies. I got to figure out the intro. I'm acting as if I've never done this before. Thanks for joining us tonight. Very exciting show. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Again, thanks for joining us. We are here to talk about the big day. No, it's not Saturday. It's a move to Tuesday. The Tuesday edition of Keeneland, which was originally their big Saturday. Now it's their big Tuesday. The All Stakes, late pick 5 in Lexington, Kentucky, as the beautiful Keeneland Racecourse opens up its racing. Thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit the notification bell in the top right-hand corner and smash that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. Of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Tip sheet, look below the video player. That's the regular tip sheet. We, of course, also have Team HHH. Only a few days away until Team HHH power picks start. And they're actually going to start with their international power picks. But you get Keeneland Springs, Saratoga, Derby, Breeders' Cup, International, blah, 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 Del Mar. Please check it out on our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, which you see right there on the screen. All right, we have a lot of things to talk about. We're going to do a little impromptu, a little minor change to what I originally planned because something very exciting happened today for our wonderful sponsors and yours truly, the Adelphi Racing Club. Adelphi had a runner today named Otello in race 7 at Aqueduct, ran very well, won a high-class allowance race. And we also haven't had on managing partner Matt Cutera on in a while. There's our information about Adelphi Racing Club, which has just been an incredible sponsor. So just very quickly, just for about 5 or 10 minutes, let's bring on the managing partner from Adelphi Racing, who I see has got wine in hand, and why not? Very exciting win. Let's bring him on from Massachusetts, Matt Cutera. Matt, how you doing, my friend? Congratulations on Otello winning today at Aqueduct.
Cheers, Howard. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let me go and bring on also my co-host. They'll join us here for our brief conversation from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and of course from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran is coming on right now. There we go. Guys, how we doing? Adelphi got a win. Matt, very exciting. I'm going to show the replay a little bit. Did it? I'll tell you what, very convincingly. I'm going to take the banner off. I'm going to leave the bottom banner on so people can see information. It's a Thursday, Matt, right? So not everyone's paying attention to racing and whatnot. This was the race of the day on the opening day for the what are we calling it? Is it Belmont at Aqueduct now? I always get confused on what we're calling it.
BAQ.
Okay, there we go. Belmont at Aqueduct. Let me go ahead and put on a quick green background here before we get into hold on just 1 second, just get this started, and let's just at least have something in the background. There we go. All right, let me go ahead and bring up the race and you can talk it through very quickly. Again, Otello is a horse that can I say we acquired not that long ago. Today was ridden by Dylan and trained by Christophe Clement. Of course, Miguel did a lot of the training down in Payson. I'll just start the race from the start, and you can talk through the horse itself and then the actual race. Then we'll talk very quickly about 2 other exciting Adelphi horses, and then we'll let you go for the evening. So let me go ahead and bring up what I'd like to here, Matt. I'm going to bring up right now, which is the replay of the race. And you can talk it through and talk about Otello. There's going to be no sound here. We'll just play it without sound.
Well, first and foremost, I'm super happy for you, Howard. I think you kind of have a special affinity for this horse. You liked him from before we acquired him, I think. And you got to see him at WinStar before he got back going again. And I'm glad the third time was the charm for him, since we've had him in the stable. I think the key is really what you're looking at right here in the race. This is a horse that is a little bit of an enigma in that he trains so forwardly. He's very aggressive in his training. But in the races that he runs, he's very lazy. He just kind of breaks and sits back and really needs to be pushed along. And, before obviously the replay of the race starts, you have the post parade and everything that happens prior to that. And I think really Dylan did a great job before the race of getting him a nice long gallop. Took him away from the pony, got him kind of on his toes. He braked good, which he tends to do pretty well. And then he just took him into the race. And, we watched the turn there. I thought, going into the turn, I was a little bit concerned because we were 3 or 4 wide. But in talking to Dylan after the race, he said, hey, I didn't want to take momentum away from him. I didn't want to try to pull him back and save ground. He was forward. He was where we wanted him to be. Let's just kind of let him be comfortable. And I think that was the smartest thing he could have done at that point in the race. And he let him do what he wanted to do. And, once we got, around the turn and onto the backside, he was able to kind of clear and sit nice and easy on the backside, ears up. And he was just comfortable doing it very well. And at that point, I felt pretty confident. But you never know when they're stretching out for the first time at that kind of distance. He's never gone a mile and 3/16 before. You're just a little bit worried maybe you get leg weary late, but that didn't happen, obviously.
So funny story, Pete and Paul and Matt, you don't know this either. You guys will love this. So the race was scheduled to go off at 3:16 Central Time. It just so happens that my last period class at high school teaching ends at 3:15. So what do you think I had my seniors do? I said, guys, don't leave yet. I think you want to watch something. So, put on the race. No, I don't have any video of them cheering. They're not exactly horse racing aficionados. But what do you think at this point, Matt? 47-2. He went 23-2, a little bit 3 wide on the first turn. 47. We're about to see 111. I was a little bit worried at this point only because he was starting to get pressed again. But I'll tell you what, he kept going. I thought this was a very underrated effort, probably better than it looks, at least in my opinion. What say you as we go ahead and roll the rest of it?
Yeah, no, look, like I said, I was a little bit worried being wide. I was a little bit worried that, going long for the first time like this, that he would get tired late. But he really was composed on the backside. That made me feel good. And when he, stretches out here and, everybody else in the race is kind of being pushed on, I felt pretty darn good. I think I said he was a bit of an enigma in terms of his morning training versus how he acts in his races. He's also a little bit of an enigma in terms of how he looks. I think Maggie said it on the TV broadcast today. He's a little horse. He's not a big horse. He's broad and he's a strong horse, but he didn't really grow up or long. So he doesn't look like a horse that wants a mile and 3/16 a mile and a quarter, but he's certainly bred for it. And I don't know how far you're going to show after the wire, but he galloped out like he could have ran around there again. So
I was going to ask you because they didn't show on the main broadcast. So this is good to see. Of course, you were there in person. I love the one white sock, by the way. He's got to find the other sock. I don't know where it is. You know what's interesting also about him, Matt? You and I have had a lot of conversations because I've loved this horse, Pete and Paul, for quite a while. Like Matt said, I saw him down at Keeneland in the fall and Lexington and Windstar. He's got a lot of turf pedigree. And in general, turf horses are more, I won't say dainty, but they're a little more slim and a little more, they don't have as big a locomotive, so to speak. So he's got a little bit of a high knee carriage too. I still think he could be, run well on turf. He's very versatile, and I'm excited, Matt. I don't know what the plan is. I told you I'll look at the condition book and get back to you. But, he's eligible for an N3X. I suppose if there's a listed stake going like a mile and a quarter on dirt somewhere, I would think that's maybe in play, but I don't want to speak for you or the, or the Clements as well.
Yeah, look, we just crossed the wire a couple hours ago, so we'll give him a chance to cool out and have his dinner and do all that. But there's a 3X allowance race on Derby Day in New York going a mile and an eighth. That could be an interesting spot for a horse like this. And then there's stakes races as well. I don't know how aggressive we want to be. Let's see what the figure is and kind of go from there. But look, he's a stakes winner. He was a stakes winner early on in his 3-year-old season. He had some physical issues. We got him back. You know this, Howard. We ran him a little too short first time, off the bench. He had a little bit of a trip last time, and then this time he kind of did what we what we needed to see, right? When we bought him in the summer, this is what we wanted to see him do. So, now we'll see kind of how he comes out of it and take it from there. But he still has his third level allowance condition. I'm sure we'll look at that. And the Clements are very good at spotting their horses. So if there's a listed stake or minor stake that comes up that makes sense for him, let's try it.
We got a lot of people in the chat. Like Ed Burke likes looking at the gallop outs. We got Rodney Evans is here. Roshan is here. Pete and Paul. It's nice to have. And I know Pete, you've had ownership pieces with my racehorse, and Paul, you've ownership pieces. It's sort of nice to have a 2-turn dirt horse, guys, of high quality, because there's so many fun races at that distance, right, Paul?
Yeah, I think you just you could fill the role of next this year, Matt. That's all.
I didn't say it, but that's the other thing. I was actually texting with one of our co-owners about the horse as well. Maybe these marathon dirt distances could be interesting for him. He doesn't have the look of that kind of horse, but he's certainly bred for it, and he runs very evenly. He's a stayer, yeah. And those are the kinds of horses that do very well at those long marathon distances. And today he did show that dimension of being able to be forward, which is critical for that too. So, those two things, in combination, there's definitely the opportunity for those kinds of races to be in his future as well.
Cameron Marathon on the bottom of the screen, longtime listener, first time getting to catch you guys live. Cameron, what's taking so long, man? Really appreciate it, though. Thanks for all you do. Really appreciate that. Matt, very quickly, 2 runners that we have to talk about for about 2 minutes, and then we'll let you go and get on with our Keeneland show. Thanks everyone for watching. We got Matt Couture from Adelphi Racing. I'm all over the place. I think it's that 401k, Pete and Paul, that took a little dive today. It's got me a little verklempt.
It's a 301k. It's a 301k.
Otello got you a few bucks back, so he did his job for you.
You're all covered. You're all covered now. Don't worry about it.
It's bad news if we need to rely on the horses for our investments. But
very bad.
That was my day today, so
with Matt Couture, managing partner, talk a little about 2 exciting horses. One that's run 92 buyers and just broke his maiden 1/900. Really nice sprinter, and then of course the stable star, we could say, or at least ownership star, Pandegate, who I saw you put a video out of him. I think it was on X or someone did. He looks a little slimmer. He looks like he's grown up. I like what I saw. What's the plan with Pandegate and 1/900? I guess the 2, and Otello, the 3 most probably talented horses right now we have at the Delphi.
Well, don't forget Twirling Beauty, your other horse, Howard.
I love Twirling Beauty.
We'll see. First time out winner.
Absolutely.
No, Pandegate obviously had a great year last year. The Clements did a absolutely phenomenal job with him because he got back from Dubai after finishing 3rd to Forever Young there, and worked a little too quick first time out and came out of that work with a little bit of bone bruising, and they kind of nursed him along the entire season. Still won the New York Derby, still won the Albany with him. We give him a bunch of time over the winter just to let that heal up. Nothing serious, just something you got to give him time for. And he came back into training, as you said, last week actually at WinStar, which is where we started Otello back. So you're familiar kind of with that path. So he'll be at WinStar for the next month or so. Get back going. He's jogging. He'll probably start galloping next week, and then get up to breezing, and then we'll ship him to New York, wherever the Clements want him, Belmont or Saratoga. And he should be ready to go kind of right before, I guess this year Saratoga starts early. It starts 4th of July weekend. He should be ready right before that. So we'll look for a race for him, kind of in early to mid-July, hopefully, if everything goes well. And he's one of the advantages of owning New York breds is, even though he won 3 stakes last year and had a great season, he's still a first level allowance horse against open company. So, we still have the opportunity to run that kind of race if we want to. We've got the New York bred stakes. We've got open company stakes for him, but he was always a horse that we thought was going to get better as he aged, just based on his pedigree, being by Arrogate and, his physical. And then, you add on top of that, honestly, we talked about this actually on one of your shows before the Albany. He did what he did last year at about 80 to 85%. They really, you're only 3 once, right? So you only get to run in those races once. And so, if he was 4, he probably would have just gotten a break and we would have brought him back. But, they did a phenomenal job of keeping him going in the right direction. And I think he could improve as a 4-year-old. So I'm excited for him. He'll start back at Saratoga. We've got the long 2 months there this year, and we'll see what he can do. But he's a fun horse and a hard trying horse, and another one, similar to Otello, where I think Dylan Davis fits him really, really well. He's one where, if he breaks out of the gate, he'd be happy to sit 15 to 20 out of it. He doesn't care about doing anything early in a race. So he needs a jockey like Dylan to get into him early, and Dylan certainly rode him very well, like he rode Otello today.
That's Pete's kind of horse, 15, 20 back and make a big run. Just real quick on 1-900, Matt, and then we'll all go on with our show.
Yeah, I mean, 1-900 super talented. I mean, just super talented, very fast horse. He worked a couple of works before his last race. He worked in, I think, 47-1 and then 47-2 back-to-back weeks, like with Tom Morley basically telling the rider, like, strangle him. Don't let him work fast. He's just super, super fast horse. Steve Rocco, the majority owner, loved him at the sale. I'm just super happy to have hooked up with Steve. We own a bunch of horses with him, and I'm thrilled that he liked this horse because he's just a very, very talented horse. Unfortunately, we ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw 2 back. We'll see how that horse runs in the Lafayette. I don't know if that's Monday or Tuesday with the days that have changed, but no, this horse ran very good last week. He got a 6 on the rags. I mean, he's just very, very fast. We're gonna look at the Chick Lang on Preakness Day.
Interesting. I like it.
I'm from Baltimore originally, so if I can throw my my hat in the ring in terms of where
I like that spot, Matt. I like that spot a lot.
Yeah, look, I think 6 furlongs will hit him.
Yeah.
Straight between the eyes. He's just super, super fast.
Yeah.
I don't mind crab cakes in May, so I would be very happy with that. And look, if not that, then there's a first level allowance in New York, I think the day before or the day after.
Okay.
That we could look at as well. But he's the kind of horse that's almost a little too fast for his own good, and we just kind of have to take care of him and space his races. And I think we'll have a fun year with him. But in an ideal world, hopefully we go Chick Lang, come back from that. There's some sort of spot there, and then we're looking at races like the Amsterdam and the Jerkins and things like that. There's no reason why you can't do that. Good
luck with the 1-900, Pandegate, Otello, Twirling Beauty. Again, we've showed this banner a zillion times on these shows, but we have a lot of new people coming on all the time, Matt. Our viewership, as you know, just continues to grow. There's Matt's information on the bottom of the screen. If you are listening and not watching later on, the website is adelphiracing.com, one word. Matt's emails, matt@adelphiracing.com. Matt, these are always the good days. We know how tough a game this is. So congratulations on the win with Otello as well as the rest of the partners, and we'll see you down the road, my friend. Thanks for jumping on.
Appreciate it. Have a good show, guys.
Thanks.
Take care, Matt. See you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Matt Cutera, there we go, of Adelphi Racing. Sorry for the small little tech glitches, guys. I guess got to work on that. All right, let me go put our banner up for Keeneland and get right into it. Very quickly, guys, I think we need to talk about what's going on with the shows, right? Because it's been crazy. So very briefly, what's going to happen here? We're talking about the Tuesday card. It was the Saturday card, all stakes late pick 5. One of my favorite cards of the year, guys. We're going to talk about 45 minutes approximately through that through that sequence. Excuse me. We are keeping and everything you can find on our website, ladies and gentlemen, and also on our YouTube channel, of course, which is why you should be subscribing and hitting the notification bell for situations like this. We have a Keeneland Today morning show that we were going to do every Saturday and Sunday during the Keeneland meet. It's about a half an hour, 35-minute shorter show previewing either early pick 5, late pick 5, or stake races. Even though they're not running this Saturday, we are going to do Keeneland Today this Saturday anyway. That's right, Paul. You and I, my friend. We're going to talk about the early pick 5 on, of course, Tuesday, which would have been Saturday. Sunday, I'm going to be hosting, I think, with Patrick Hunslow, I believe, and we're going to talk about the regular Sunday card, which, as scheduled, the late pick 5 for that Keeneland Today this Sunday, and then Monday, which was the original Friday opening day. We're all working here on the screen, but our fantastic young co-host Noah Maher will be hosting Monday, which is the original opening day, with, I believe, Charlie Freeman and I think Patrick also, again, actually. So anyway, we've got it covered. Tuesday, when this card is actually going to be running, we have no Keeneland today. We're taking care of the Tuesday Keeneland today on Saturday, like it was supposed to be. Okay. Now that everyone's confused, Pete and Paul.
Clear as mud. Yeah, clear as mud.
Let's get into it. I know you guys hate to talk about weather, but it's been horrific. We could have a whole hour conversation on what they should have done, could have done. I don't want to get into a long conversation, guys, but literally 30 seconds. I'll put my 2 cents in. I'll let you guys talk. I like what they did. Safety first. There's no guarantee that races Monday and Tuesday are going to have turf racing, though. I think a lot of people think, oh, they're backing it up, so they're going to have turf racing. Now, I think it's 7 or 8 inches of rain, guys. I know it's sand-based, and some knucklehead on X said, Howard, you don't know what you're talking about. Of course they're going to run. It's sand-based. I don't care what base it is. 7 or 8 inches of rain is a ton of effing rain. Pete, how do you feel about how they adjusted the opening weekend?
I mean, I like it. You have to do what you do what's best. Obviously, you do what's best for the horses. You do what's best for the connections. You do what's best for the races. I mean, these are big races, especially the bluegrass. I mean, these are very timed for the Derby. So there's very specific timing that's important to a lot of these horses that are running on Tuesday now. So I think keeping it this week keeps everybody on the same timeline. It's better for safety. And if they run on the turf, great. If they can't run on the turf, it happens. But I think they made the best decision all around.
How do you feel, Paul, about what they could have, run the races except for turf racing, but obviously they're very concerned about flooding, just getting to the track. I mean, there's a lot bigger things in this world than the horses running around, right? I mean, the employees have to get there. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. I don't think medication, there's just a lot of things that people need to understand that I don't think.
Oh, I mean, it was 100% the right decision. I mean, at 3 o'clock this morning or 2:30, whatever, the tornado sirens were going off in Lexington, Kentucky. Okay. The governor had declared a state of emergency. So, I was speaking to someone there today, as a matter of fact, and I said, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, this is where they were going to end up. And, they got there. I figured it would be Wednesday, which it was. And, obviously you feel badly for some people are already there who were going to be there for this weekend.
Yeah.
Others canceled. But then there are those of us who were going to be there on Wednesday, starting Wednesday of Grade 1 Gamble Week. And they have this new thing called the internet. And I was able to go on to delta.com yesterday, and I punched in, "Dear Mr. Delta, I would like to see East Avenue run on Tuesday. Can I change my flight?" Actually, I just clicked on the flight, Pete. And lo and behold, for $93, Delta was happy to rebook me on a flight Tuesday morning leaving Boston. So, Howard, your favorite card of the year, the stakes portion of which Mr. Mullins and I are scheduled to be there live and in color.
Oh, terrific.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, anyway, let's get on to the racing, guys. I'm glad you're going to be there, Paul, to see East Avenue. We'll talk about the bluegrass soon enough. The late pick 5. Now, we're going to assume, guys, it's turf. Okay. This is, again, the Racing Tuesday. We are handicapping this show. The power picks, everything is based on let me clarify, the stake races being on turf. I'm guessing the non-stake races will be off the turf until later in the week. That is, I feel very confident about that. I don't have inside intel, but I'm pretty sure about that. Let's assume this race, guys, to start the All Stakes Pick 5 again on Tuesday, originally scheduled for Saturday, is on turf. $500,000, 1 mile, 3-year-old restricted fillies. It's the Appalachian. It's a Grade 2. It's a field of 10. The Moreline favorite is the very popular and exciting Nitrogen from the inside. Cassie's also got Vixen, the number 2. Let's see where we are going, guys, to open up the all stakes late pick 5 on Tuesday, originally scheduled for Saturday. I'm going 3-1-2. Pete's going 1-3-2, and Paul's going 8-1-6. Pete, we've talked about Nitrogen on the show. You know I have mad love and respect for this horse. I am trying to beat her on Tuesday. You are not.
Yeah, I think it's a tough race, though. I don't think she's any sort of shoe in any way. I think the same things we liked about her. I think we did the Florida Oaks, didn't we? Do that last time, if I remember correctly. I think some of the Ginger
Brew,
and the Ginger Brew. That's right. Yep. We did do both of those. Yeah, I think some of the same things you like, where she still is sort of getting incrementally better from a figure standpoint, at least from a buyer standpoint. I think the 2 races in 2025, they weren't as dominant as maybe you hoped. I think people might have hoped that this horse would have really moved forward and become sort of a potential dominant horse in this division. Maybe that hasn't happened yet, but she's just good, and she's always been good. And I like the fact that now they seem to have, with Jose in the saddle, they seem to have figured out what her best race is. Take her back, obviously. Let her get her run late, and she's just game, and she just closes, and she does what she needs to win. I don't give a crap if she wins by a half or 6. She still get paid the same way if she wins. So there's everything I like about that. I also think she's probably second off the layoff. You hope she's a little bit sharper, and again, if she can move forward from there, I think she's just maybe the best horse in this race, but not by I think a relatively slim margin. So. But I can't see how you can leave her off if you're playing, say, a pick 5 ticket, just because she's talented, she's good, and she's game, and she tries so hard at the end.
Paul, I want to talk about something called the going stick. And I think you know where I'm literally going with this. If you're not familiar with what a going stick is, very briefly, it measures moisture in a turf course. On their website, and you'd have to find it, we're not going to take the time tonight, guys, but on their website, and if you do enough deep diving, you can find information on the Keeneland turf course, what part of the turf course is more firm and what part is more moist. Now, usually, Paul, when it's really wet, like Churchill, you don't want any part of the inside at all. New York, I think go either way, but generally in New York, I think you still want to be on the outside also when it's wet. Keeneland, not necessarily. I would just highly recommend people pay attention. If you can find information about the going stick, which measures the turf course, Paul, they're going to be running on for the first time. You'd hope it's going to be even, but nitrogen stuck down on the inside, I think that's at least worth mentioning. Now you're going with the 8 on the outside here, Lush Lips, who is going to be sitting on the outside, possibly on the lead, getting better and better for Brendan Walsh, and Hernandez is taking over for Tyler.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping, you mentioned it, I have in my notes here, trip ? On the 1. Big field could get the going, so to speak, could be not as good down there. Always potential for trouble on the inside. There's also the potential to save ground. The race is a little shorter than last time. Going back and watching the replays, it really looked, inside the 8th pole, it really looked like Lush Lips might be home. And nitrogen, though, once she gets going, boy, she is tough. So, she's an A for me. But as far as within the race, I think it's worth a shot, especially if this 8 is in that 5-1 range. I don't think they didn't really have to kill this horse to get to the lead last time. It was an easy lead. The fractions were okay. They weren't particularly fast. They weren't slow. So I just think if the 1 gets in any type of trouble or gets underway too late in a mile versus mile 16th, I think the 8's a logical upset candidate.
Yeah, I'm going to use the 8 defensively. I think there's other speed. The other thing to think about, and everyone's got to take this into consideration, who the F knows how this turf's going to play? A lot of these horses, Pete and Paul, as you guys know, and people at home know, are coming from Florida. The turf at Tampa and Gulfstream, even when it's not really firm, is completely different than the turf course at Keeneland. Keeneland's much more lush. It's actually thicker. I've walked the turf course several times at Keeneland. It's just different. It's like New York, guys. And so I'm usually against early speed coming from Florida for that reason, although I do like Lush Lips in this race a little bit also. Pete, you and I like Fionn. I like Fionn, I believe it's pronounced that way, more than I like her a little more than you do. She's a little bit slower, a little, not much, but again, she's been closing like a train. These races at fairgrounds, the turf is more similar to Keeneland than it is Florida at the fairgrounds. This is Cox. I don't mind Machado. He's just fine. She's got a wicked closing kick. I think she might appreciate a little bit of cut because she's done it twice and done it well. Once at Indiana, one at fairgrounds. She's very logical here. I think she classes up. And by the numbers, she's maybe a length off. Not much, P, and we're going to get 5 times the price. So I like the 3.
Yeah, me too. And I think, you're hoping that there's a forward move, and this is a much tougher field than anything she's faced. Obviously,
It is.
She does lose Lasix, which she's had in the last 3, but Cox is one of those trainers you don't get too concerned. And I don't think you showed the time form, but there's a lot of speed in here. Even, and you don't have to go back to it, but even Paul's 8-horse Lush Lips, where she likes the lead, time form has her projected in 4th. So there's 3 other speed horses, at least from a projection standpoint, that are going to be out there. So I think with our 3, Fiona and Nitrogen, hopefully there's pace and they're going to be flying late. And again, if Fiona just needs to class up, like you said, but she looks pretty talented and she seems to be getting better.
And again, it's counterintuitive. Everyone is thinking, oh, it's a shorter distance. It's a mile. It's going to help the speed. Not necessarily. Sometimes it works the other way. I have a feeling it might work the other way on, I want to say Saturday, on Tuesday, which sounds very, very bizarre. Anyway, let's go on to the next race, guys. Next race, real good one. It is, again, these are all stakes. These races are on Tuesday. Let me take the banner off the screen and go to race 7. This is the Commonwealth. It's a grade 3, 7 furlongs on the dirt, 350,000. We see a lot of similar names in here. It also starts the all stakes pick 4 if you want to play that. Nice field of 12 in the race. Moreline favorite is the very fast and talented number 2, Montalcino for Cherie DeVaux and Jose Ortiz. I'm going 6-2-10. Pete's going 2-11-10. Paul's going 2-10-6. Paul, I think Montalcino is a possible Breeders' Cup sprint candidate in November. I think he's that good. I like him. I have him second. You guys both have this one on top. If he does not get caught up in a speed duel, I think he could be very tough. I should also mention to everyone, the dirt should be fast. There's no rain scheduled Monday and Tuesday. I see no reason why the dirt won't be fast on definitely Tuesday, if not Monday also. Montalcino, Paul, what do you like about him?
Yeah, I went in looking maybe to beat him with the 10, but just watching that replay, Howard, they didn't really have to push this horse. Jose pushed him very early in the race, but once he got his feet underneath him, he just kind of cruised to the lead. It was an easy lead, and just kept going. 1 to 5. That's how you're supposed to run, I guess. So that might tell us something about the field. But this horse is 3 for 4, lost by a head to Miles Ahead, a horse who's a 14-time winner. We're well on the record what we think of Cherie. That maiden race at Saratoga on closing weekend was very good. 3 next out winners came out of that race. So, down inside at 7 is maybe not ideal, but I don't know. I think that I don't think this race is all that fast, to be honest with you. And I just think if this horse gets the lead, she's gone. He.
Have a beverage.
How about a bite of an oatmeal raisin cookie instead?
Okay. Now, Pete, they have the 2 clear, but they also have a fast pace. I have a hard time believing the 2 is just going to walk on the lead in this race, but it might not matter. He just might be that damn talented.
Yeah, although Epic Ride right out to the outside, who we're not going to necessarily talk about in specifics because nobody has him on the board, but Epic Ride is pretty fast. I mean, whether on dirt or on synth, I think he's better. I think from a finishing and win perspective, he's better on the synth, but I think his speed has carried on whatever surface he's on. So having him right to the outside could cause some problems. I think the way you have to look at it, Montalcino is just going to, does he get mixed up in any sort of speed duel? Does he let the 3 go if the 3 decides to really gun? Montalcino won the maiden from, sitting just off. Now, I assume was just much better than them, but maybe that's in there. I don't know. But one thing real quick, we talked about Brad Cox being someone you don't worry about when you lose Lasix. Cherie DeVaux, 1 for 18, switching off Lasix for graded stakes races on the dirt. So maybe not something she's been so good at. So always just something to think about. But this horse, like you said, is uber talented, could probably overcome something like that with, as long as there's not that suicidal front speed.
I remember him last fall. I mean, that second race where he went 7 furlongs, he went to the half in 43 and 4. I mean, I was there that weekend. It was crazy. Now, that was a speed favoring day. I will say that. That was the day where there was a bunch of wire jobs, including, darn it, the one horse, I can't remember the name, the Cox horse that went to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, it was it was somewhat speed favoring that day. The track was very fast, but Mount Lucino, a major threat. Guys, I've never been the biggest fan of Hoist the Gold, but I really like this spot a lot. Hoist the Gold at number 6, I think he's underrated, which is hard to believe. The horse won almost 1.5. He raced consistently, guys. He's now 6, but he raced a lot, all the way from July, 1st of 23. He got a little break coming back from Saudi, but not much one. I mean, he ran, guys, for a good, full year without a break. And it looked like he was starting to tail off a little bit, but look, he was going against Close the Game Sugar, who was really good at that time, and National Treasure in the Met Mile. So, you can give him a little bit of a pass for maybe not fighting his best. They finally gave this horse a break. He came back. The 97 buyer is better than the time form was. The time form isn't as good, but it's blue-coated figs. I think he's primed to right for this one. I see a lot of speed. 7 furlongs, hits this horse right between the eyes. He's 3 for 3, first or second at Keeneland. And I might get in a little bit of a price here. I'm going to go with Hoist the Gold. I'm not going to say it's my top pick of the weekend or anything, but he's really honest. He doesn't have to be crazy far back. I like him. I'm a little surprised, Pete, you have him nowhere. Paul, you do have him 3rd.
Pete, could I give Howard a poo-poo stat?
Oh, I have one. I have one as well. Yeah.
Throw the poo-poo at me. Let's go.
I wonder if it's the same. I went, Pete, with Dallas, second off a 9 to 12 month layoff, which is right where this is, I believe. Yeah. Right? No, second off, whatever this layoff is. 0 for 13 is what I have.
Oh, I have a worse one, which is. Oh. But I like that one too. I didn't see that one, and I love this horse. I've played this horse in a couple of those races we're looking at here. So I usually like Hoist the Gold. Stewart, 1 for 52 graded stakes within the state of Kentucky, or on the Kentucky circuit. So on the win end. And yes. The other thing I didn't like, Howard, and the reason I have him more as a board horse, which I think he's going to hit the board. I think he's just a little bit better at 6, maybe, and where he wins at 6. I think he's good everywhere, but he seems to win at 6. And you can see he's 1 for 8 at 7. Yeah. And that's the only, I know a lot of those are against horses he maybe shouldn't have beaten anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe he just has a class edge here. But I love this horse. So he's the 4th horse for me. So he just missed.
By the way, that 1 win was with this horse in the Phoenix. There it is on the screen.
It was, yes.
So he's done it before with this horse. Paul, very quickly.
That was going 6, by the way, just for the record.
Nope, I'm glad you mentioned that. Paul, very quickly on your 10, which I think Extra Neo is going to take a little money, and then maybe you want to mention what you're talking about for Wesley and Irad. What a hell of a combination that is at Keeneland. Very quickly on the 2 outsides, Paul, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think the 10's got a good shot here at 8 to 1. I almost picked this horse on top. He'll be an A on my grid.
Oh, wow.
I think this horse is good. Asmussen, good numbers off the 6 to 12 months graded stake, 27%. Ran the race at Mountaineer, which was longer. I think 7 is right where this horse wants to be. 2 for 2 at 7, 1 for 1 at Keeneland. The numbers, I can see someone saying that the numbers are a little light speed-wise, which is why he's 8 to 1 morning line. But I'm going to use this horse on top on my play.
Okay. And anything about the 11 for Irad and Wesley? I feel like the name Willis should be the end of this name. What you talking about, Willis? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
the age to understand that one. Yeah, so all you youngsters out there, you're gonna have to look well then up. It's a call. It was a show named Different Strokes. Check it out. Anyway, Paul, what about the 11?
Look at that last race off the screen, right? 106. This is the New York bred taking on Open Company for the first time, but why wouldn't you coming off the last race? Irad takes over. So yeah, I think this horse might be bet a little more than that 4-1 morning line, Howard, just because of that number last time, and it is Irad and Wesley, but kind of a tough call. I'm like in B land, not on my top line, but certainly don't want to get beat by him.
That time form just keeps getting better and better, and the buyers mostly keep improving too. And he hit his peak in the last one, like you said, Paul. Wesley Ward, by the way, 0 for 12, greatest stakes on dirt at Keeneland in the past few years. But I like that horse too. I
not 0 for 12 with his babies first time.
Yeah, they don't run 2-year-olds in the spring. Great,
they don't run them. Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's go on to race 8. The other thing is, it's when they get a little moisture in the track, there's going to be some moisture. I mean, there has to be, even if it's fast. Speed's going to play well, I think, in the first few days here. We'll see. But I just have a feeling it's going to be hard to close from deep. Let's go on to the next race, guys. The Resolute Racing Madison Stakes, Grade 1. This race, guys, never disappoints. Every year.
This race is
this
awesome.
Is an unbelievable race for the best older filly and mares going on the dirt, sprinting. $650,000 is the purse. 7 furlongs, field of 8. Morning line favorite is the number 6, Scylla, Mott, Pratt. I mean, they might as well call this Breeders' Cup Distaff, filly mare sprint 2. I mean, all the major players are here. I'm sure we'll see others in November. But if these horses can continue to run well, you're going to see these races, these horses in the Honorable Miss and in the, just name the race and name any good filly mare dirt sprint. You're going to see these names in there. Let's see what we're going with. I'm going 286. Pete's going 286. Wow.
Ooh.
And Paul's going 268. Well,
yeah, we're all over. It's a tough race.
Looks like it's a 3-horse race, guys. Looks like it's a 3-horse race, but you know what? We're all going with Emery. I think you guys know that I have a lot of mad love for this horse. You also know, if you watch and listen to the show, that I had a heartbreaking defeat along with probably a bunch of other people against Mystic Lake in Florida last time. But I'm sticking with my girl. You guys are too. Pete, talk about Emery for Cox and now Machado in the saddle, taking over for, is it Tyler again? I believe, yeah.
Yes, Tyler. Yeah, I mean, and you could say this about a lot of horses, but she's just really good. She's consistent. You see, she pretty much always runs her race. The only two where she hasn't run as well a little bit were in the slop and the mud. So hopefully she's looking forward to maybe a little bit of a drier surface. But she got her lifetime buyer top in her debut at 4. So again, we always expect, we hope that from 3 to 4, there's going to be progression. Now, she lost to Mystic Lake, beat Jody's Pride, but it was sort of a speed favoring day. At least that's what it's coded. And I think I remember, and I think she was coming late. And I just sort of remember that race, right? You said you had her. Did you think she was going to get there?
Well, if you remember, I can't remember the horse here, Pete, but I know there was a big speed scratch, and I think it forced Emery to be up closer than she wanted to be. Emery's the 9, Mystic Lake is the 7. I don't recall who scratched, but I know there was a big speed. I might have been our Harper Rose or something. Anyway, someone scratched out of this race.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
And forced the 9. Now, look, Emery's getting a perfect trip. I'm not going to sit here and say she had trouble, but I think Emery rather be a few lengths off with a target and come running. And for some reason, she went a little bit backwards on the turn and then came again. It was weird. I was very disappointed, but I just don't think, look, now she's a length back. I don't think this track suits her. I think she'd rather come from 2 off of it. And you got to give a ton of credit to Mystic Lake, who's the 7, who's the 8 on Saturday. But Emery is coming again here, Pete. I almost got her anyway.
I wonder, too, if the fact that Mystic Lake had Jody's Pride right next to her sort of got her competitive juices going a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Otherwise, if that horse wasn't there, maybe she slows down a bit. I mean, you never know with the mind of them.
Well, also forced Emery to go wider on the turn.
It did on the turn.
Didn't Joey's Pride float out a little bit, which floated out Emery?
So.
And
yep.
We're making excuses, but I think they're somewhat valid.
No, I don't. I mean, I think Mystic Lake won fair and square, but I think they're close enough to where I think if Emery can get the trip. And Cox to Machado, by the way, when he does a jockey switch, which this was a forced jockey switch, 35% wins, 62% in the money. So it seems like when he goes to Machado, he has a lot of confidence, and he backs up that confidence as well.
And then Pete, I'll let Paul talk about Scylla. Mystic Lake. Look, it's like impossible for me to think she's not going to get a great trip here.
Yeah,
she's on the outside. She doesn't need the lead. If Irad outbreaks him, he'll go. If doesn't, he'll sit. She likes 7 furlongs. There's still a part of me that doesn't think she's as talented as Scylla and Emery, and I think it's because some of her wins came at like Charlestown, like a speed favoring Charlestown, and weaker races like the Sugar Swirl. I don't think she's as talented as Emery and Scylla, but that doesn't mean she can't win on Tuesday, though.
No, but I also think Emery was one that you sort of heard a little bit about and was one that people thought was going to be super talented, and maybe Mystic Lake sort of worked her way up to that. Mm-hmm. But I think everything you said is right. We don't have to go into it too much. I think she's going to get a really nice trip, and I think this is this is going to be a really interesting race just to watch from a trip standpoint, because there's just so many good horses, but it's not a ton of speed, but there are speed horses, but I don't think it's going to be like lightning fast. Right. By the way, Safi 1 for 17 in graded stakes at Keeneland. That's something where if you're paper thin between a couple of these, something has to cause you to lean one way or the other.
I mean, Pete is going to be better in Florida than he is anywhere in the world.
Oh, obviously,
so, I mean,
obviously, right? If it was in Florida, yeah.
Paul, Juddmonte, Mott, Pratt, Scylla. I really like this horse. I'm trying to beat her because she's off the layoff, but if she wins and even wins by like more than 1 or 2, it wouldn't shock me. She's really good. I'm just slightly concerned, like I would be with a lot of horses with the layoff, but that might be stinking thinking. She's a really nice horse.
Yeah, well, I'm also trying to beat her too. I like the 2 a lot here, Howard. You're 2.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to beat the 6 because I'm worried about the layoff with Mr. Mott. I can tell you that.
Okay.
I went back and looked at the Ballerina. It was a really good field on paper. Society ran absolute lights out. But horses to come out of it are 1 for 6, and 5 of them had a regression in their buyer figure. So as good as it was on paper, it hasn't really held up. She was obviously right there in that Breeders' Cup. That race fell apart very late. Yep. That was Soul of an Angel coming from the parking lot. So yeah, I do think she's the best horse as far as what she has accomplished. But I think she's beatable here, and I think this is one of those classic races where you have to take a stand if you're playing caveman. I'm gonna when people see my caveman on the grid, I will have just the 2, just because I don't think you can play. You definitely can't play 3 of them, and I'm inclined just to. I absolutely think one of them is going to win. So you're down to 3, and I'm going to live in if I were playing caveman, I'm living and dying. I like the 2 a lot here.
We did have some. Oh, so go ahead, Howard.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we had a little bit of love in the chat for Justique. I didn't know if anybody. I just thought.
No.
I didn't know if her best race that she has yet beats the other 3. Maybe it's in there. I just don't know if she's shown it yet. But I really like that horse. I just know this field might have just come up a little bit too tough for her on the win end.
Matt bringing up some love for our different strokes with a great show. A lot of people, unfortunately, not alive anymore on the bottom of the screen there, but that was one for my generation, and which would be Pete's generation, and I guess Paul's generation too.
Obviously,
great show. All right, guys, let's move on. The Shakertown. I was hoping Shards was going to be here for our good friends at Crown's Way. I think they've made a pretty good decision though in not going, especially because I don't think Shards wants soft turf. Again, we're going to assume it's going to be on the turf. Almost all these horses want turf, guys. If it's off turf, ladies and gentlemen, you're on your. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be a very small field, and you're just going to have to figure out what to do from there. We're going to assume it's going to be on turf. Here's the field for the Valvoline Global Shakertown Stakes, Grade 2. One of my favorite races of the year for turf sprinters. It always is. It's a field of 11, and the morning line favorite, completely wide open, is the very likable number 2 Hour Shot, a PA bred for Terra Nova and Saez. Let's see where we're going to go in what always seems to be a really tough and competitive Shakertown. Look at this. Pete, Wow, my friend, look at my paisan. Look at what we're doing
what's
here.
going on today?
Again, I'm going 1-3-2. Pete's going 1-4-2. Paul's going 4-2-1. We really like the inside runners. I mean, no crap. That's where the morning line favorites are for the most part. Paul, talk about Rogue Lightning. I did my research on Rogue Lightning. This is a very, very interesting and talented Euro who is coming in for Wathan Racing, who seems to be everywhere these days. Very interesting, 5-1 for Clover and Flavian.
Yeah, that would seem optimistic. Howard, I thought this was a very competitive field. I don't know that it's the best running of this race I've ever seen.
Completely 100% agree. We've seen better renditions in this one.
Yeah, so what do? I just default to the Euro.
Why not?
Under those circumstances. I mean, I just noticed the two. I was on the phone with Mike Gatsis for quite a while the other day, writing a story about 5G. So I'll be rooting for the Pennsylvania bred for sure. I think the two's legit. The one of you and Pete, obviously legit. I think Arzak's on the other side. I'll use him as a C just in case, but age 7 hasn't won in the last 6 races. None Hudson hasn't all of a sudden is camera shy. So yeah, I just, as I say, now the interesting horse is Dale Roman's horse. 2 in a row at Gulfstream. I think has the lead here if he wants it, and Time Form agrees with me.
Yep. Talking about Coppola, everyone, which I'll show in a minute.
Yeah, but and look at the guy has won big races, but I mean, in this room, first time Mario Gutierrez on a horse who's going to take money. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, I didn't like the 0 for 3 in the money at Keeneland and the 1 for 10 at the distance, Paul. That was enough to be.
This is a 5 furlong Gulfstream special, Coppola, right? I mean, what he's going to run on Tuesday, guys, is completely different than what he's used to. But if he gets clear and brave, I mean, and these horses get a little, mud thrown in their face from the clods of turf, whatever. I agree with though in general, Paul. But Rogue Lightning has faced some good ones. I mean, you go back for people that aren't familiar with Euro form. Highfield Princess was the best turf sprinter in Europe at that time. Only lost by a length in the Prix de l'Abbé at Longchamp, which is the prep basically. Well, it's not a prep for the Breeders' Cup turf sprint, but it ends up being that way. Look, there's big abs in there, guys. But he's been mainly like lower group 2, group 3 in general. And what's weird, Pete, is I'm using him, but you would think, oh, this is the Euro that's going to love the soft turf. They bring these horses because they want firm turf, number one. Number two, his best races don't seem to be on soft turf. So I didn't know what to do with him. I'm going to use him, but he's not a top choice for me, obviously.
No, but it is.
You like him more than I do. You've got him second, though.
It's hard when you say that, though, because the horses that are here don't rarely even run on soft turf.
It's true.
So he at least has run on it and has had a little bit of success on it. So
Fair.
I agree with you. They usually come over because of that. The thing that concerned me about this horse, he doesn't always break very well. And if that happens here, this is a pretty big field. I mean, he's been in some. I assume some of those were pretty big fields. They can be over there, but this is a big enough field where if the break is bad for some reason and he has to try and close from deep, the number 4 Dwelt from Tom Espinoza, the number 4 Dwelt, that start comment scared me off. Yeah, and a few of the races I watched, that was the case. But I did like the last one was in the mix, sort of. Matt Miller, I'd pay.
Matt wants
money.
me to start pronouncing names of it. Well, we can do it, Matt. You want to listen? Where do you think I got that? David Lane's been tutoring me.
Here, I'll pronounce one. The King George Stakes. How's that? Is that
wow,
good? Did I say that right? and the John Smith City Walls. Did I say those two correctly,
sure.
Matt? Hopefully those were in line.
Anyway,
yeah, I thought last time he broke. He was mid-pack, so I think if he can get a trip like that, he's going to be closing late, and he picks up Pratt. So if you're going to come over, Tom Clover isn't someone that we're necessarily familiar with here. He hasn't had a horse here in the last 5 years, but you get Pratt on it.
Anderson, like you could pronounce any of these names. I mean, come on, Brad, give me a break, man. Please. All right. Anyway, let's talk about the one, Pete. We both NBS stable and more particular. By the way, which is Shard's connections also. Kelsey Danner had a tremendous Turfway. This is not Turfway, but she is, she's like Cherie category, Paul, maybe a little step below that. She's really good. Kelsey Danner is excellent. Pete, I'm sure we saw the same thing. She's in Run Carson, the one is in really good form. Figures to sit a great trip. There's not a ton of early speed. I'm always worried that this horse gets shuffled back, but I'm not sure on Tuesday that's going to happen. She's run very good on turf. She didn't run great in the Keeneland starting last year, but that's a one-off to me. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, she didn't like Keeneland. If he didn't like Keeneland, they wouldn't be running him here. I think there's lots to like. He's progressive. He's improving. We get a little bit of a price. Johnny V. The rail's the only thing I don't like about this horse, to be honest.
Yep, I agree with pretty much everything you said, and even the race on Synth lost to Howard Wallowitz, who we talked about a bunch on the show. Howard. I mean, that's a Breeders' Cup quality horse right there. So, I mean, even that wasn't a bad loss, but I do think, the improvement there. Now, again, we're going from 3 to 4 here, whereas I think I have to look. There's a couple other 4-year-olds in here. But now we're going 3 to 4. This is his first start, apologies, as a 4-year-old. If we see that natural progression from 3 to 4, what he was doing at the end of last year, if he progresses from that, I mean, he's up there. Because we were talking about I agree with Paul, what he said. There's not like top level in here. I don't see any of these are going to win the Breeders' Cup or anything. But I think the one is the one that was at least on an upward trajectory and is lightly raced enough still to where I think there's potential upside there.
Yeah, there's no Golden Pal, there's no Cogburn, there's no super duper Euro. So.
And that's why if you can get a price, why the hell not in a race where
just let everyone know we're going to go to about the 9:15 Eastern. We're going to it'll be a short turnaround to our Great Race Plays show. But guys, we had to have Matt Cutera on to talk a little bit about Adelphi. After all, they do sponsor us, and we are very happy, and they got a win today. Let's go on to the big one, guys, the Bluegrass. The Bluegrass, of course, is the big one of the day. It's why the day is named Bluegrass Stakes Day. It's the Toyota Bluegrass. Grade 1, last major prep of actually all the Derby preps except for the Santa Anita Derby. It's a small field this year, which is pretty unusual. It has nothing to do with the weather situation. It's just the way it worked out. This is not the strongest Bluegrass I don't think we've seen either. But I'll tell you what, guys, it's really, thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. It's really, really interesting. And Paul, we got to start with you, no matter what our picks say. Let's bring the picks on the screen. Jeez, Pete, what are we? We're horse whisperers.
Simpatico today.
Boy, yeah. I hope we are right, my friend, because we're going to have a monster day.
We're going to be ripping up a lot of tickets if we're both wrong.
No, we're both going to be right. We're going to have a great. I almost said great weekend, but
great Tuesday.
Great Tuesday. I'm going 3-1-6. Pete's going 3-6-1. Paul's going 1-5-6. Paul, instead of starting with River Thames, the one who is a very fast New York bred for Pletcher and Irad from the rail, and is the morning line. And I have a ton of respect for Nick Tamaro. I wouldn't even know who to make the morning line here, but I think there's a little Irad love there with that morning line. It's probably accurate, 5-2. Let's actually start with your second choice, who myself and Pete have nowhere. The number 5, East Avenue, who amazingly enough needs points. And I only say amazing because, boy, he was so good in his first 2 starts, and then it's completely fell apart. There's a lot of horses that need points. In fact, everyone needs points here, I believe, except Burnham Square. Actually, he needs points too. All these horses need points.
Yeah, Chancer needs a few points.
Yeah, no, they all need points. It's crazy. But talk about East Avenue first. I'll bring up his PPs because, in a weird way, I think this whole race revolves around him, Paul.
Yeah, and I actually picked him second. My heart is squarely.
Tell everyone why. Let's be honest, Paul. Why is that?
And Wallet.
Two reasons. One, it's a Godolphin horse, and 2, I have a big Derby future bet on him.
You do.
And I looked it up. They said it's hard to win the Derby if you're not in the race.
That's what I understand.
He has to finish first or second, to be clear.
Yep.
He only has the 10 points. You know how the fear is, the juvenile was really unfortunate. We were there. The horse just about fell coming out of the gate. I get a kick out of people who have tried to say, well, he had plenty of time to run after that. Yeah, he's a 2-year-old on his third career start, goes to his knees, and yeah, he's just going to get up and run like Arrogate in the World Cup. Good.
Tell that to Dennis's moment.
Yeah, exactly. But, as I've said, and I've kind of purposely not try to get any intel here. I figure I'll see. This is the reason I'm going Tuesday, by the way. I was lamenting the fact that I couldn't see the bluegrass. And then when they made it Tuesday, I said, well, now I can potentially see the bluegrass. So, they could find nothing physically wrong coming out of the Risen Star. The horses run well at Keeneland. And this is, put up or shut up time. Either he goes to the Derby or he's off the trail going somewhere else. So I think the one really could trip out here, though. I will say this, Howard, if this horse goes to the lead, this horse is winning this race.
I was just going to ask you, this is absolute Speed King, cornucopian dead send. I'm not saying there's going to be a speed duel. I'm just suggesting the intent you think with the 5.
I would think they're going to be aggressive, blinkers on, which is, that's Brendan kind of tipping his hand. He has done that. We've talked about it. Did it with Pretty Mischievous one race before the Oaks, before she won the Oaks. So, I think they'll have intent. My guess would be they'd be okay with sitting right off, but I think they'd be happy to have it. And looking at the race, unless Chancer gets around real close, I would love to see this horse on the lead, because if he goes to the lead, he's going to win.
The only thing, Paul, I would say is the only thing is that Breeders' Futurity is the race that sort of jumped out for everybody. If you go back and look at it, it stinks. Every horse behind him stinks.
Yeah, Ferocious turned out to be not so ferocious.
So Ferocious was a dud. All these other horses, you don't see any of these on the trail or anything. And so my concern was, I agree with you 100%. I'm worried I have to include this horse because if he gets on the lead, you never know. But I look at it and go, maybe he's just not as good. And we don't know it yet because we saw that race and everybody thought, oh my God, this horse is awesome. But maybe he just blew out a crappy field and we didn't know it at the time. But if he gets to the lead and gets brave, that obviously can change.
Well, I agree with you, by the way, Pete, and I have mad respect for those connections. I need to see it. We haven't seen it since October last year in a weak field. This is not the strongest field, but I mean, what is Jose just going to let Machado go? I think Owen Almighty is absolutely going, and I think Irad's going to sit. Now here we go again, guys. Just keep in mind, you got Jose on the 4 and his brother on the 1. They are not hooking up. So it all depends on what East Avenue does. But I also feel like Jose, and I know it's different connections, different trainers. People can say whatever they want. There's no doubt in my mind that that's part of this game that we play. I think Owen Almighty is definitely going. I think the only way they can win is on the lead.
But do they have to win?
Owen Almighty is the only one who doesn't need points, actually.
I know, but the only way they can win this race is on the lead. So
but the only way they can win the Derby is not from on the lead. So why wouldn't
then why are they in this race then? They're in this race.
Well, that's a good. Well, that's an excellent question. Why are they in the Derby when the trainer doesn't want?
Well, they shouldn't be. They still might not be, Paul. We don't know.
My point is, wouldn't this, if you definitely going to the Derby, isn't this the race you rate them and see what happens?
Or this is the one too where you just say, "Hey, this is 9. At least can this horse?"
I mean, this is a free square.
Or maybe they're trying to win a grade 1 and be aggressive. I don't. Maybe Paul, this is the race. Maybe they know they're not going to the Derby, and so they want to try to get a 2-turn grade 1, and so that's why they're going to send. I don't look. I don't know, Paul. All I know is
sending.
Okay, well, all I know is River Thames is going to get a great trip, guys, and he's very talented. I've got him second. I don't think he's a 1 1/8 horse, though, guys, but I do think he trips out and gets a real nice a run here. Pete, you and I are going to Burnham Square. This is by far the best closer in the race. Yes, I'm including Chancer in that. I'm not convinced Chancer is a 2-turn horse, Pete. I know you've got him second. I've got him third. I need to see him run well going 2 turns. This horse has run well going 2 turns. a little bit of a dud last time. I think he rebounds and wins.
Yeah, I mean, the last one is a little concerning, and you don't want to see that. But I do think
Somebody came back and lost too, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But again, this isn't the. I think you can come up with questions for every horse in this race, even though it's a really good field. It's a competitive field, but I think you could come up with questions for all of the contenders. This one, I'm going with the fact that Owen Almighty does go, and Owen Almighty and East Avenue sort of take the starch out of each other, and I think Burnham Square could get the jump on a horse like Chancer. If Chancer does, for some reason, all of a sudden want to close going 2 turns, I think Burnham Square can get the jump. I did have some ugly. Oh, go ahead.
Well, stop the press. Rodney Evans agrees with me. Usually him and I are butting heads.
I know
Rodney agrees
he likes
Chancer might not be. I think Chancer could win the Woody Stevens and the Jerkins, but I think he's going to be a really good crack 7 furlong miler. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Sorry, Pete.
Yeah, he's one. No, I was going to say he's one of those horses where the reason I had him in second is I think if the pace heats up, he could close. I just don't know if he's the one who can finish and win going these longer distances. But he could be like Domestic Product. Remember Domestic Product? He could win a little bit going long, and he would hit the board going long, but he wasn't at his best until they finally cut him back. Yeah. By the way, Ian Wilkes, 0 for 14 in grade 1s and 1 for 21 in graded stakes at Keeneland. So not lovely for Ian, but I just like the setup for this horse. And I think if he doesn't win this race, to me, he's mostly a toss in the Derby. And I still think I don't really know about him in the Derby to begin with, but I think this is the one where he needs to show up.
It's a fun race, by the way. I do have a small future on Admiral Dennis. I'm chuckling because I don't think that horse has a chance in hell. But I made that bet when I made it with Uncle Jim. Those Cox horses just didn't work out for me or anyone else who would bet. It just shows you how damn hard it is to pick future bets. So anyway, guys, Lexington's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's go look at our best bets very quickly here. We really appreciate everyone watching and listening. And again, everyone. Saturday morning, we do have Keeneland today. Myself and Paul are going to talk about the early pick 5 on Tuesday, which was supposed to be Saturday. So join us Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern for Keeneland today, even though we are very well aware they are not running on Saturday. Pete, you're going to go to race 8, a pick 3, 2-8 with 1-4 with 3-6, and a double in race 9, 1-4 to 3-6. I'm just going to go ahead and read them off, Pete, if you don't mind. Paul's best bet, race 7, a pick 4. He's going to go 2-10 with 2, with 2-4 with 1-5. You're singling Emery there, Paul, is that right?
That's correct.
I like
it.
As
I said, yeah.
Yep, okay. And my, sorry, that's not it. My best bet is in race 8. I'm also going to put a win bet on the number 2, Emery. I'm going to play a pick 3. Actually, that is that's what I'm doing. I'm going 2-8 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 in the turf sprint. I'm stealing Burnham Square, Pete. I'm just going to go for it. I think look, if East Avenue gets loose, I could be very wrong. I have a very hard time believing the 1 and the 4 are both going to let East Avenue just clear in a grade 1. And even if they do clear, I think Burnham Square will like the distance, and I'm not sure a lot of these will like the distance. And do we really know that East Avenue wants to go 9 panels? I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know. So I'm just going to single Burnham Square there in a $30 pick 3 for $3. Paul, do you have a quick rant, or should we just wrap up the show? Completely up to you, sir.
No, I was just going to talk about the idiotic situation at Aqueduct last Sunday where they're trying to run horse races and the morons who are running Resorts Casino, running an auto show on the parking garage overlooking the track, which is fine. And they decided, well, of course you can't have an auto show without having the music at decibel levels rivaling JFK down the street. And, Naira called them and said, hey, horses get spooked and they run off and they might die. And they just didn't take the call and they had to cancel racing. So only in horse racing do you have to cancel racing because moronic casino operators are so stupid and inconsiderate that they can't just turn the music down. So nothing not enough bad things can happen to Resorts Casino, which ironically is sponsoring the Wood Memorial this week. So
they are. That is the irony of all ironies, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't want to extend on this, and we got another show to do, Pete and Paul. Let me just say this, because I got a little intel. I'm not going to say what I learned, but let me ask you a question. If you're Naira, and we all love Naira, don't you look at the calendar like a month in advance and see, oh, they have an auto show. Maybe we should talk to them about that day. Now, it's Resorts World. They have 5 days. Apparently, they're supposed to inform Naira 5 days ahead, and apparently they didn't, Paul and Pete. But Pete, like, if you are a part of Naira, don't you like look at, like, it turns to March 1st. Oh, let me look at the March calendar at Resorts World and see what they have going on. This was at the end of the month. Like, the fact that they're claiming they knew nothing about it, I still, but you can blame whoever you want. I still think Naira has some culpability here.
Blaring music?
Well, but they would have known in a month in advance. They could have dealt with it beforehand, is my point. Not dealt with it the day of.
My point is, why would they think they have to deal with it? I mean, I don't go to auto shows. I guess that's a thing, that the music has to be blaring, or you can't look at tires.
That was part of the setup. They had like a. I mean, that was already planned to have like a bandstand there. So
Resorts, yeah, number one.
Look, I agree, Pete. All I'm saying is, like, you should know that this is going to happen before the day of. That's all I'm going to say.
Here's what's funny: you're giving people a little too much credit. These jurisdictions don't talk to each other about running stakes races at the same time. They don't. They live in their own little fantasy land in their little silos. So expecting them to think forwardly and think about something that might happen 4 weeks from now is a little beyond their comprehension, I think.
Anyway, all right. Well, guys, it was a fun show.
I think Paul said it best, though. Paul said it best.
Paul usually says it best, Pete. Let's face the facts. We try to bring some fancy vocabulary and be a wordsmith, but we can't match the wonderful honorable mention Eclipse Award winner, by the way, Paul Halloran, soon to be author Paul Halloran. Guys, a lot of fun. We've got great race plays coming up in literally 18 minutes as we're live Thursday night. Check out, again, YouTube. Great race plays. Gino Piccola from DRF is a guest tonight. He's a great guy. He's going to help us through the San Anita late pick 4 on Sunday. So please check out great race plays coming up in 17 minutes. So if you're watching this as a replay, just go over to YouTube and click on Great Race Plays, the most recent episode. For Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, Howard Kravitz, good luck to everyone on Tuesday for the original Saturday card. Crush your bets all meet long at Keeneland. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.